coming out of COVID and all that's happened, we're in for some rough waters, and we're already starting to see that. And I want to make sure that our tax dollars are spent appropriately.
Hi, my name is Michelle La Poetica Richardson, and I am here at PTV today interviewing a whole group of people. This amazing group of people just so happens to be candidates for different offices in the city of Peabody. And I am here with the gentleman that's running for Ward 6.
That's correct.
And you are?
I'm Michael Higgins. I I went to school at Northeastern University and got my electrical engineering degree.
Okay.
And while there, upon graduation, married my lovely wife, Sheila. And that was the first best decision I made.
Wonderful.
The second best decision I made was moving to Ward 6 and living on Catherine Drive, where my wife and I have raised 3 lovely children, and we've been there 29 years now.
That's beautiful. So in 29 years of living there and here in the city and bringing up a family, why now? What makes you run now?
I feel strongly for my community. I love Ward 6, and now is a good time in my life, as my youngest son, Eric, graduated college this year. And now I will have some free time, hopefully, to dedicate to be an advocate for the citizens in the ward.
Well, you know what? As a mom, I absolutely appreciate that you waited, because, when you represent a ward, in any position that you're elected for, you become a public servant, and that takes time, and sometimes it's out of your hands. So when you have babies that don't really understand that, it makes it difficult.
Certainly does.
So I respect that immensely. So now you're coming into Ward 6, and into this race for Ward 6, and I would love to know what can people expect that you're going to bring to the table?
Sure, great question. I furthered my education after getting my engineering degree by going to Boston University and getting my MBA degree there. And I've had a 35-year career so far, still going strong in the electronics industry, where I've had a multitude of different roles. I've managed national sales teams. I've managed high-performing, very technical engineering teams, and delivered much-needed products to the life science industry as well. And I think that my skill set is favorable for being the kind of advocate that our ward will need going forward, as the economy is going to be a difficult one ahead. I want to make sure that I can help guide the ward through it.
Sounds amazing. Now, I know that there's been some changes in recent years and recent elections as far as the districting goes. Could you tell us briefly what is Ward 6?
Yeah, Ward 6 is also referred to as West Peabody. We did have a bit of a redistricting a few years ago, where there was parts of Ward 5 became part of Ward 6. And one of the issues that I'm concerned about is the overdevelopment of the ward and the city in general. So my concern for Ward 6 specifically will be the projects that are currently being proposed, and looks like they've green-lighted one of them, and that's at the end of Winona Street, which was previously part of Ward 5, now part of Ward 6. They have a project that's going to deliver about 180 units that are going to be going up on Route 1. And then there's a second parcel of land that there's a proposal for another 146 units for a rehabilitation center. And I'm concerned because that lot is only 4+ acres, 4.5 or so. And the requirements are 25 acres for a structure of that size and that many people. So I'm hopeful that the Zoning Board of Appeals will deny any variances that they're requesting.
Wow, that's a huge gap though in size. That they'd be willing to take that cut, it makes it kind of suspect. So I see what you're saying. Now these are decisions that have been on the table on and off through the past couple of decades, if you want to be real. As a ward counselor, how do you feel your particular ward would best be represented when it comes to decisions like housing? Because we all know that there's a housing crisis. How much that housing crisis affects West Peabody is a whole nother conversation, but a real one at that.
Mm-hmm.
So being that so and being that what it is, how do you see that working out with your constituency?
Yeah, I'm concerned about overdevelopment or any, just development in general regarding the city. In Ward 6 in particular, we've had another previous development that went in, and it was a large lot of land where they're they're planning to build 23 single-family homes. They have 3 more to go, I think. And that, in my opinion, was the right kind of development. So I want to be clear that I'm concerned about development, but I am for the proper kind of development. It has to fit, and it can't be a burden to the infrastructure. And I know that in other parts of the city, and as a ward counselor, even from Ward 6, I would be voting on those kind of issues. So I'm very concerned as well for the rest of the city, and I want to make sure the right kind of developments are pursued.
Now, there's going to be many opportunities, hopefully, for you to fully get into the breadth of what that looks like, in a way that will represent your full population here in the community. But if we could sum it up, right? How would you best balance the extraordinary need for housing, the lack of affordability that exists within that realm, and the need to stop overdevelopment?
Yeah, that's
So,
a lot to unfold in that
yes,
question right there. But
yes.
I feel
And I
that,
said it like that, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I said it like that intentionally because it's all connected. And I think people think it's a one and done or it's just one thing, but it's not.
no,
Yeah.
it's very difficult. Throughout my career, I've spent countless hours researching topics and working with folks that have, all different development issues, like or educational backgrounds, I should say, or functionality in workplace. And I think that skill set is going to be very beneficial to me in this effort, because I'm going to be talking to a lot of people, a lot of the folks that are currently on the council, a lot of citizens that have varied backgrounds, working with developers and making sure that they adhere to the rules that have been given to them. It's very unemotional for me when there's a set of rules to follow. They need to follow them, and we have to make sure they adhere to them. And if they're supposed to deliver a percentage of affordable homes, I'm going to make sure that they stick to that.
Yeah, what I've noticed is a lot of these developers, they talk a great game and then they find some kind of a loophole and they put the rent just above, reachable reach. So it's refreshing to see somebody that's that passionate about that.
Thank
Now,
you.
Ward 6 can expect that from you, right? They can anticipate that you're going to fight for that. What else do you have on your radar that you would like to heal, repair, mend, fix, change, or bring, as new?
Sure. First, I've spent a lot of time over the years in different educational institutions. I have a family upbringing where my family emphasized education, so I have a strong affinity for our educational institutions. My children enjoyed their time at the elementary schools, the middle schools, and so on. And I want to make sure that we provide, the proper infrastructure that fosters that education and keep our students in Peabody, make Peabody attractive to folks that want to raise families like I did.
Yeah.
I feel very strongly about our educational institutions and the facilities. The facilities definitely need to be repaired. They need to be upgraded. The students need to feel comfortable in their environment, and I think that lends to better learning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, the people don't know how much it impacts the children to be in a classroom of 30 versus a classroom of 10. It's a huge difference. And after the pandemic, there's so much happening. Like, so we've got education, we've got development and housing. What else do we have
Ah,
as Ward 6 counselor?
well, another issue that I have my sights set on and I'm concerned about, and I mentioned earlier, the economic times ahead, and coming out of the COVID and all that's happened, we're in for some rough waters, and we're already starting to see that. And I want to make sure that our tax dollars are spent appropriately. I want to make sure we're funding the right kind of activities with our tax dollars. I want to look at the budget. I will be a fiscal hawk. I also have quite a bit of experience with P&L statements and balance sheets in my business career. So I'll be, a fiscal hawk when it comes to budget.
That's wonderful. Now, fiscal hawks are great. But there have been times where fiscal hawks have quickly become gatekeepers to massive amounts of funding. And that's something that you may or may not encounter in your line of work. How would you deal with something like that if you understood that there was a gatekeeping in place, right? And that a community that was disadvantaged or unrepresented was in need of those funds? How would you challenge? How would you deal with that challenge?
Yeah, I would make, well, again, back to, working with the citizens and making sure that their needs are being met. I want to know how the different areas of the city are being affected, and which programs really could use the funding versus some programs that perhaps we may want to change gears on. So I would work with all of the folks on city council, because I think the ward councilors will have the best feel for their wards.
Absolutely.
I will definitely be working with those resources to learn more about how their wards are dealing with the programs that are being funded or not.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful. Now, being a family man, living in the city, having seen the city grow and change and evolve over the years, what nostalgia do you have in your pocket for the city? Because there's so much that has changed.
A lot. For me, it's looking at some of the old playgrounds that have changed. Spent a lot of time in sports. In fact, before I ever lived in Peabody, I went. My father would travel to the hockey rink, and we would go to Woodworth's Pro Shop to pick up shirts for our soccer teams and whatnot. And so I have a long history of coming to Peabody. Back then, when I was a child, it seemed like a million miles away.
Yeah.
Literally 15 minutes, not exactly a long way.
I know.
Really enjoyed that. So yeah, I would say that when I got here, it used to be Hannaford. Now it's Big Y Plaza, things like that.
I know.
Looking at our
That's such a
beautiful,
huge thing.
we used to love Hannaford. My wife would always be going down there, and now we have to get used to saying Big Y. But things like that make a difference that some folks, may scoff at or whatnot. But I think that the beautifying of the city, where we were looking at, the projects that the city worked on, such as, for me, in my ward, looking at Crystal Lake, it's in the fountain that went in and things of that nature, just beautiful. Turn the corner and you see that and you just feel happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sounds beautiful. Thank you so much for being here today. And if there was one more thing that you could tell people that the viewers that are watching us right now, that would encourage them to vote for you, what would you say?
Oh, I would just let folks know that I'm a strong family man. I am very transparent and honest, and that's one thing that the citizens will get from me is honesty. If we can't do something, I'll let them know. If we can, but it's taking longer and there's frustrations, I understand that. We all want things done immediately, but I will be as transparent as possible.
Transparent sounds like you're going to have a lot of good, clear communication.
That's my plan.
Yeah, and that's something that's very needed across the board, not just in Peabody, everywhere. So thank you very much for running. Thank you for being here
Thank
today.
you.
And if we could find you on social media, do you have social media that we could follow you on?
Yes, you can find me at Elect Michael Higgins on Facebook, and I also have an Elect Michael Higgins at gmail.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Best of luck in this election.
Appreciate it.